is it really easy for a young Elvis who just arrived in 2012 to kind of go from there to potentially becoming a counselor soon?
I took time to rebuild my life, and I think many international students go through that, whether it is family violence or whether it is mental health. I have experienced both. Will this impact their? That's not true. Why are we traumatizing international students?
Like what sort of traumas are we talking about here?
Not every student comes from a very wealthy background. I didn't work in the field because
I'd like to see like what are your plans in regard with international students once you are elected on the position of councillor. As far as I am aware, City of Melbourne is the only council where international students can vote or temporary residents can vote. It's easy to say, but like what do you think are some of the immediate action items people can take? When I remember when we started education, it was more of like 20 hours a work week.
Hi everyone, this is Dev Singh from the Dev Singh Show podcast.
We have here with us Elvis Martin. Elvis, I would have introduced yourself, but I know too much about you. So I would let you to give a very much 10 to 15 seconds intro of yourself.
Sure. Thank you so much, Dave, for having me on your show. A community advocate, and I have been a resident in the City of Melbourne for a very long time. Have been a board of director on various government boards. Most recently, representative of Australia at COSP for you at United Nations. What else? A former international student.
Well, how I know you is like my first memory with you is like going for the awards, India Australia Business and Community Awards.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that was the first memory, and thereafter obviously a lot of other things, one of which was obviously going to United Nations as an Australian representative. So that's an amazing part. I just wanted to kind of get the mindset right, like how you started all these things and how you actually came as an international student and became what you are today. So how about we start from the year you came in, the university you studied, in anything that you did in the initial 2 years or 3 years of your degree, and then take it from there.
Sounds good. So I did bit of everything, sort of a thing to start with. So I did IT. I didn't like IT. There was a choice. Parents wanted me to do IT, so I was not a fan of IT. Then did accounting, have studied governance, and that's actually a core governance from Australian Institute of Company Directors. The graduation and other things. So yeah, I have done bit of everything. So when I was an international student, I was always interested in being involved in community and what the community groups, what they are doing and what they are up to. And I think this is something that I want to say to every international student. Try, connect and explore Melbourne. There is a lot of opportunities that Melbourne have for you, and I think it is important to take that advantage of everything. Then I got into advocacy because of the challenges that all international students experience. Right, and you know that well, and I know that from first-hand lived experience of it. Many students, pretty much all of them, go through some form of a stress. Right, so mental health becomes something that is really important to me. I'm an ambassador to IOK Day as well.
So sorry to cut you off, but before we go there, can we go a little while back? Like when did you actually arrive here? Like what year? Where you studied in Australia?
So I studied in Federation University.
Okay.
Right.
What was the year?
12.
Okay, 2012.
2012. 2011, but I started studying in 2012 in Fed.
And when did you finish?
2015 is where I get out of. Yeah, that's where I.
And what was the first role as soon as you graduated? Was your first role like first job or first?
A lot of no, I didn't work in the field.
Okay.
Right, I didn't work in the field because of personal challenges and things that I was experiencing with my family.
Okay, tell me about the first 4 years or 5 years of your Australian life or whatever you were doing, which includes your studies, like the part of your education. But after that 2 years, 3 years, what were you doing? Like, were you part of some sort of campaigns, or the way we have campaigns these days at Fed Square or at in front of State Library? Were you part of such kind of campaigns which were going out and doing rallies and things like that, or were you doing something else like silently and building yourself up?
No, I have always been interested in community activities. So I have always so there was a phase in my life which I slightly mentioned that I had experienced challenges and hardships, right? And that was a time where I took time to rebuild my life, and I think many international students go through that, whether it is family violence or whether it is mental health. I have experienced both, right? So it took me a good amount of time to get out of that, right? Yeah, then I started volunteering in different organization, community groups, for raising awareness for mental health and family violence and homelessness and challenges that international students experience without any support. So yeah, this is what.
Well, this partially answers my next question, which is like, what led you to become what you're today as a change maker? What were your, I would say, goals or dreams of that time that you are sustainably kind of, seeing in yourself today? What led you to pursue change maker roles that you are kind of, living today? At that point in time, what was your like mindset? What was your thought process?
Oh, definitely. I had this. My passion and my advocacy are driven from my lived experience, right?
Okay.
Lived experience of hardships and challenges, and I felt like, that's what drives me to keep going and be a voice for people who experience similar things to what I did, or the challenges many community members who does not have a voice go through. That's why I got involved in the sector, and that's why I do what I do.
Now, the key reason why I kind of called you in here today is to ask about, like, because I am aware that you are going forward for the elections, you are going forward for the position of councillor, which is again an important role in the City of Melbourne Council. As far as I am aware, City of Melbourne is the only council where international students can vote or temporary residents can vote.
That's right.
And this is across Australia?
No, this is for Melbourne Council.
No, like as in like this is the only council across Australia where.
To my understanding, that's right, right?
Okay.
But I have to fact check.
Okay, well, if you are aware of any other councils where international students or temporary residents can vote for the councillors or for the mayors, please write back in the comments, and we will obviously go there and explore that area as well. For now, I would like to see, like, what are your plans in regard with international students once you are elected on the position of councillor?
That's an interesting question. See, City of Melbourne can do a lot for international students. A lot of international students choose City of Melbourne because of how vibrant it is and the supports in terms of like, I'm not being biased here, but I think City of Melbourne is one of the kindest cities in Australia and really friendly. It's easy to make friends, right? And people genuinely have that compassion to support one another, and that's just my view, right? And council can do a lot to support international students. Our students deserve support. They bring a lot to our community, cultures, amazing food that City of Melbourne have, contribute to the economy of the city, right? And workforce, right? Without international students, our businesses won't be able to operate. As simple as that. International students are the backbone to this city. So, as a former international student, and what I have been told is the first international student to have his own ticket. Study Melbourne is a state government initiative. It is working very well, but I want to have an initiative like that for City of Melbourne. We don't really have to copy and paste what Study Melbourne does, but we can offer supports that Study Melbourne is not offering, right? So that will be like a complementary to. So the supports that the hub of City of Melbourne can't provide, then we can refer them to Study Melbourne. If Study Melbourne can't provide that supports, they can refer to us, so vice versa. So that's something that I'm really interested. International students play a big role in City of Melbourne. Most of them, they don't know they do, right? And one thing, as a former international student, we are always worried about visa situations and permanent residency and all sorts of things. That's just always playing in our mind, right? And I think what I have learned is we forget to take that pause and really understand we are contributing to this community, right? And we are making that major contributions. And I think City of Melbourne need to acknowledge, just saying, just doing a social media post and saying thank you is not enough, right? I am all about concrete support and how can we actually have that for international students, whether it is through hubs or whether it is through mental health support, family and domestic violence. As a former international student, I have experienced family violence, and that's a very tough bit and something that I don't talk about often, right? And that's why at the start of the video as well, I was just a bit paused around it. It's because it's hard, right? And many students go through that. It's not just me. So what supports do we actually have for those students who are experiencing these challenges, right? And how do we actually create a safe space for students to do it? Most of the time they are really worried about what's going to happen with their visa situation. If they access mental health support, will this impact their visa? Or that's not true, right? I have been a former international student. You have been a student, and I have also been on the other side where I have been the board of director to government on many different boards, right? So I have seen from both the sides. Immigration don't care about whether you are accessing support or not. It is like that's not the criteria they are looking for to consider your visa, right? So it is really important to understand that if you are experiencing mental health challenges, you must access support.
Well, this is a deep topic, and I really am appreciative and thankful that you spoke about this thing. Again, our mental health issues connected with visa, connected with international students never came in my mind. So, like, this is a deep topic, might be experienced by a few, but then the impact is by and large like huge. We will go back to the same topic again around the support available. So I'm connected with startups, and my thought process was more around creating more opportunities for international students in the way of jobs or part-time jobs, or in a way that they can start their own startups without even thinking that whether they will get food on the table or not, in some way that they get some sort of funding or support, or maybe I'm not saying more of VC funding, but maybe early stage funding or seed stage funding where they can access a kind of funding which can help them to go through their expenses for maybe a couple of weeks or a couple of months until they build a startup, so that they can that particular thing can help them in building their skills while also contributing to the society and making a okayish living for them, just to get their food and lodging sorted. So what are your thoughts? Like, are you planning to maybe put out some sort of incubator or accelerator programs, or maybe go with some sort of funding, or do something in the entrepreneurship or startup areas for international students?
That is, if you jump onto my campaign website, you will see that is actually one of my values and campaign commitment around entrepreneurship and innovation, right? Okay. Entrepreneurs, and we want those ideas to keep going, right? Students, whether it's international students or local students, students usually have a lot of ideas, and entrepreneurship is something that's not just for one person, that actually create jobs, right? And have that potential of employing others in the community. So for me, that is important, and for me, that is something that I will be a strong advocate for. And I have always been an advocate for entrepreneurship and innovation. Way before even announcing my candidacy, I have done that in my different roles and different things that I have done. How we can support. You are an entrepreneur, and I'm sure you meet other international students who are doing good. But what I always question is there is a solid idea, right? Most of the time, international students struggle to pay the tuition fee, pay their rent, pay their bills, and experience and going through that challenges. How do you expect them to uplift this idea from the ground? You know what I mean? And that requires support, right? Something that I will always be a strong advocate for, right? There will be policies that I will be announcing related to this, so you can keep an eye on my socials for policy announcements.
Okay, we will surely keep an eye. But again, we are talking a lot of big things over here. My question is like, is it really easy for a young Elvis who just arrived in 2012 to kind of go from there to potentially becoming a counselor soon, and then kind of paving a way for all the migrants, all the immigrants to see themselves as a change maker, coming as an international student, and then leading one of the I think it's one of the biggest councils, City of
Capital Council.
Yeah. And then obviously most recognized across the world if we talk about festivals and events and all those things. So how do you feel like coming as an international student and now going forward for the elections?
So that's why I say that Melbourne is the land of possibilities, right? And I think from your platform and to your viewers, what I have to say is, if you're an international student, that does not mean that you don't deserve a seat at the table for decision making, right? I think you can equally contribute, right? Most of the time when I talk to our communities and international students, they have these questions like, they have masters, they have PhDs, but the questions that they always ask me, I don't think I can do this, I don't have a good English, or I don't have a good command on my accent. So I always say this to people, you don't need accent to be creative, right? And you don't need a language to be an entrepreneur and to execute an idea, right? It is important, anyone can be creative, and you don't need a language for that, right? So be proud of who you are, and be proud of your language, whatever you speak, right? Be proud of your accent, right? It is most of the time that we have this uncomfortableness of, am I capable, right? You are capable, right? You are capable, you can do it, right? It's not easy to go on the other side of the world and start living and really looking for opportunities, leaving your family behind. So if you can do that, you can do anything.
Well, honestly speaking, that's pretty easy to say in today's time and age, but a lot of international students will resonate with what I'm saying now. Living costs are high. People are just getting bare minimum hours on jobs. International students mostly study full time, work part time up to 24 hours a week as of current hourly kind of cap. And it's hard to kind of think something outside of academics and that part-time job. You can't really think of that, okay fine, I'll maybe get a board role, or maybe go out and do some sort of council work or some sort of community representational work, or even kind of lead the student council back in the universities. So it's it's easy to say, but like, what do you think are some of the immediate action items people can take?
That's a good one, Dev. I'm not asking you to volunteer, right? I'm not asking you to go and participate in anything that might take you somewhere. I'm asking you to contribute, and I'm asking you to pursue your passion, right? If someone is passionate about something, for example, let me give an example of one of my friend, right? He is studying IT and an international student, but his passion is journalism, right? He really wanted to do journalism. He's not going and volunteering in councils or different community groups and whatnot, but what he is doing is that he writes every week, right? And he forwarded it to different news outlets to see if they pick up, right? And he writes it in his own time. You understand what I mean? I totally understand. See, I totally understand the pressures that international students have with cost of living and everything, right? That is a role where government should step in. to provide that relief, to provide that support, right? And I think why government need to do that is these are some pretty smart, hardworking people, right? Do we really want them to? Sometimes I feel, and many students share this with me, is the trauma. They feel like there is a trauma associated with the international student life, and I think in many ways that is right, right? And why are we traumatizing international students?
Like what sort of traumas are we talking about here?
The pressure of making the ends meet, like whether it's earning to pay the. Not every student come from a very wealthy background, right? Not every student have a supported family, right? So with that, they have to work really hard. And the struggle, I have always been against this 24 hours working, 20 hours, I think now 24 hours, 24 hours a week. I have always been against it. I will always be against it, right? This is the most disgusting rule that we have. These are the people who are running our cities. And if we're going to pressure them into 24 hours, there is not just, no, there's not just a human right issue here. We expect them to have a completely healthy financial situation to pay their tuition fee, to pay their rent, and just pay a tuition fee to us that is 5 times higher than as a citizen what I have to pay.
Well, there's one thing which we spoke earlier, and I just want to reiterate so people who are watching should know that if you are an international student or a temporary resident or any sort of temporary visa holder and you're living in City of Melbourne, you just need your address and you can certainly vote in the council elections. So please do go out and vote. Now back to Elvis. Elvis, that is amazing that you're doing such an amazing work already and you have such amazing plans down the line. I am obviously hopeful that you win the election and kind of, come out with majority so that you can kind of pursue all these plans and can make them a reality for a lot of students. Again, like, my perspective has certainly changed about you. The mindset I'm seeing, that's certainly changed. So thank you for that. Guys, this was Elvis Martin coming from 2012. This is like 12 years kind of story where he made he made life for himself and he became what he is today. I would certainly ask you to go back to his candidature page. What's the website or the page?
It's elvismartin.com.
So it's elvismartin.com. You can go out and check there what his plans for the council are. And if you like him, vote for him. I am certainly supporting him. I mean, I'm not sure whether I should say this on camera or not, but I'm certainly supporting him because I have liked his policies all this while. And the fierce advocate he is, that's really amazing.
When Elvis will be elected, he will be advocating for this if he have the majority. No, I don't care whether I have the majority or not. If anyone from my team get elected, we will pursue advocating for it. Doesn't matter if we have the majority or not.
So what you're essentially saying is that there are opportunities for international students in Melbourne. You mean like job opportunities for international students?
100%.
Okay, if you guys are looking or working or living close by to City of Melbourne, then as per what Elvis Martin says, we have opportunities. So come down here, explore the cafes, restaurants, but also explore the job opportunities which are available over here. Anything that you would like to add?
Definitely, I think City of Melbourne need to be a strong advocate about this rule of 24 hours per week. Students are only allowed to work 24 hours a week. That's something that City of Melbourne should be advocating with federal government, and that's what me and my team will be doing.
So logically, it's a federal government issue, which and it's not an issue because when I remember when we started education, it was more of like 20 hours a work week.
That's right.
Essentially, it increased to whatever unlimited hours during the COVID period, and then decreased back to 24 hours a week, which is again 4 hours more than what we used to do.
Yeah.
But when we see the living living cost crisis, or when we see people struggling to make ends meet, even 30 hours are less logically. I know a lot of
100%.
people who, even if they do 24 hours, they are still like, not making enough money to get by through their rental and food expenses.
100%.
Let go of anything else.
The thing is that you know this very well, that you connect with a lot of international students, right? Especially people like you who have dreams of being an entrepreneur and starting a business, right? It is impossible. It's nearly impossible, right? And if we are international students are not asking for some freebie or some support out of nowhere, right? They are contributing to economy. They are asking for rights to contribute to this economy. They are asking for rights to contribute to the workforce. Most importantly, the businesses in the city are crying for workforce, right? As a capital council, and capital councils around the country have a big role on influencing this decision. And one question I always question is like, okay, so you gave international students right to work 40 hours a week during COVID when no one was working and you needed them desperately. But as soon as some workforce is back, you strip their working rights, right? Are you treating international students as slaves? That's a question I have with the minister.
Well, I certainly won't say it's an interesting question, but that's something which everyone wants to ask. But when you yourself, when you yourself are an international student or on temporary visa, people are fearful of, whether they should ask something of that sort to a government official or not. I mean, again, you have all the right to speak, you have all the right to ask any question. But when it's a visa kind of situation, people are fearful that their visas might be cancelled, they might not get permanent residency or citizenship after some period of time. So
100%.
yeah.
And then in that situations there, I'm not going to expect this international students ask this question. In that situation, it is our job, your job,
Yeah.
my job, right? It is our job to ask that question. We have been there 12 years ago, right? We know how hard it is. We know how much international students are struggling. Not everyone come from an amazing supported family. It is our job.
I think not just you, Elvis. I think other councillors who are going for the elected position of a councillor or a position of mayor or a deputy mayor, they should take this into consideration.
Oh,
This is
100%.
something they should have been doing it right from
Yeah.
the start.
Yeah.
But now when there are a lot of changes in the economy down the line, as you said, businesses are struggling. At the same time, international students are also struggling.
Yeah.
So it makes complete sense to kind of allow in such a manner that it becomes a really win-win situation for everyone in the market. That's really amazing that you are actually voicing out that opinion, which a lot of people will not even think of. I have no, as I have seen multiple campaigns from multiple people who are standing across, not just in City of Melbourne, but other cities as well across Australia. But I've never seen kind of a campaign which is more inclined towards increasing the cap of working hours, or focusing more on international students. Again, there's a benefit to the councillors who are going for the position, because international students at the end of the day vote in the council elections.
But can I add to that? Still, we don't have a lot of international students registered to vote, so now they can't vote. If they haven't registered to vote, they can't vote, right? Many politicians don't talk about it because they are not the voter base for many of them, right?
Okay.
So and 6th of August was the last date where students had a right to register to vote. Many of them unfortunately haven't done that, so they won't be voting. They won't be getting the ballot paper, right? So in that sense, politicians don't want to touch the subject because it doesn't benefit them. But I have always picked up, not just now, in last 10 years, I have always picked up most unpopular topics and to advocate for. I am not afraid of voters. They will think about, okay, who's our voters? Does our voters care about these things? Not really, so we don't want to talk about it. I will talk about it because I have been there, right? And I have always spoke for marginalized communities, whether from diverse backgrounds, refugees, asylum seeker, international student, things that I relate myself to.
Well, now we have kind of literally delved deep into this topic. What's your thought around like the recent cap by federal government on international students who are like, from next year there'll be a cap of like 270,000 students, if I'm not wrong. So there will be like, there have been much more enrollments in last couple of years, but moving forward the enrollments will be capped. This has been a situation in Canada, I feel, and a couple of other countries, because of which a lot of international students have been moving to other affordable options, for example Germany, for example Denmark, which have like good universities, like good as in good ranked universities. At the same time, those universities are publicly funded, so international students there literally don't pay any fee, or they pay a very nominal fee. So what are your thoughts when you think that obviously universities here are heck expensive, and then you also place a kind of, you double the visa fee initially, and then you also place a cap on international students who are coming over here.
Yeah.
What do you think about the economy overall for Australia, and what are your thoughts about the economy for City of Melbourne?
See, I can't talk about as I'm in a campaign trail, so I'm going to talk about what is for City of Melbourne here. I don't support, and this is actually one of my major concern, that always politicians make decisions by themselves, right, with little consultation and conversation with community. Before immigration minister have decided to do that, I have questions with immigration minister. Did you consulted the councils, the capital councils? Did you consulted the businesses, local businesses who actually employ and who are hoping to have a workforce, right? Did you consulted communities, right? But you just went and made the decision that I don't think is in the best interest of Australia. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I have a very lot of feelings right now. It's like, people might say that it's not in the best interest of Australia, but logically it's in the best interest of any country which invites international students. Like, you give a boost to your economy, both financially and non-financially.
100%.
You don't realize it for a long period of time, but then there are a lot of countries which are heavily dependent on international education, alongside whatever tourism or whatever other fields they are into. So it's like, logically it doesn't make any sense, but then at some point in time I also think that there's a balance required across the
100%.
countries. If you invite too many people and you don't have any opportunities, then it's like, it's a kind of I won't say warlike situation, but more of like, a situation where people are hired and exploited on jobs
100%.
because you don't have enough opportunities for all the people, and people will be like, they will die for whatever is available in the market. So I think a balance is also required.
Balance is 100. See, I agree with you. Balance is something that is required when we have reached to a point where there is not enough opportunities for international student and there is a possibility of exploitation, right? I don't think we are at that stage. I genuinely don't think that we are at that stage, right? There is a need for workforce right now, right? And if you go and talk to, you don't even have to go to factories or big businesses. You just take a walk on Elizabeth Street and Swanston Street and ask those business owners, right? Do you need workforce? And walk from Flinders to Queen Victoria Market. You will see on their, outside near on the mirrors, the job opportunities that are available, right? So in that sense, exploitation happen. You know what I mean? It's everywhere, and how we have to put rules and regulations around how government is monitoring that, right? Balance. I agree, right? There need to be a balance in terms of how do we manage that. But right now, I don't think we are at that stage. The second point is, I'll give you an example of a student who have studied bachelor in psychology, then study nursing, right? And he applied for permanent residency. He was working in one of the public hospitals as a nurse, and he was waiting for his PR. And then his visa got expired, so he had to go. So a talent like that, which is really needed right now, why it wasn't prioritized? You know what I mean?
no,
And there are
makes
many
sense,
stories.
yeah.
There are many stories like that. We are a lot of international students who bring a lot. Healthcare workers, we are in need right now. We need healthcare workers. Then why this was not prioritized, right? So these are some of the things that I will be exploring when elected. And see, it's not just about election. Even whatever happened, the outcome after the election, I will still be advocating for it.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like amazing from a perspective that you're doing it, but not so amazing from perspective that people like that talent you're speaking about. We lost that just because of a mere visa rule and
Yeah.
nothing else. And again, I also know like heaps of international students who kind of end up their journey in Australia just because a visa rule didn't picturized for them and they were not able to kind of sustain their lifestyle because
Yeah.
sometimes it's obviously everyone got their families back home, so and parents are getting aged as well, so it becomes a little bit like hiccup that okay fine, should I stay back and kind of struggle for a couple of more years, study another degree which is now stopped, I think, study, maybe stay back in regional area for a couple of more years and struggle a lot, versus should I go back to my home country and kind of take care of my parents, to whatever job I was doing, and maybe with some sort of skill kind of increment over here they might get a better job or better opportunity over there.
I just one thing I want to
Yeah.
add there, Dave, and I sorry to interrupt you. Now the government have came up with a rule that you can't, you have to go back to your home country to apply for a new
Yeah,
course, right?
yeah.
As locals, right? Like as citizens, there are many people that we see that we want to explore. And I always enroll myself into studying something. I'm always on hunt. Okay, I've done this. I want to do that. I always enroll myself into things. If there is an international student who is already studying here and who wants to study something further or who want to enroll in something new, then why they are not allowed to do that, but we are allowed to do it? That's a question I have, right? So why are we allowed to do it? Why we can enroll in as many courses as we like and get support from government to do that? And these students are not asking for financial support from us. They are paying universities upfront.
Yeah.
And when I do things, you pay through HEX. You don't, you know what I mean? You get
Yeah,
that
yeah.
support.
International students pay around like 5x of the normal
Yeah,
domestic
that's right.
student.
Yeah. And then they pay upfront as well.
Yeah.
Then the question I have is like, on what God's green earth the immigration minister got a thought that, oh, I'm gonna wake up and I do this, right? So yeah.
Well, there are a lot of things in the market. Again, a lot of things going on for you as well, and I would really see you kind of campaigning for all those things that you're saying right now. And guys, this is Elvis Martin. If you want to make him accountable down the line, you have got
that.
all the thoughts on video, so that's your way out. But Elvis, do you want to add something more over
I'm
this?
fine, thank you.
Okay, so we will be closing here, guys. We will come out next time with an amazing leader to kind of help you grow further in your education, career, or professional life, or financial life. Before going off, I would just ask you to subscribe to the channel. We will come back next week with an amazing person down the line. Again, this was Elvis Martin. Go do subscribe and enjoy your life.
Thank you so much for having me, Dave, and for this opportunity. And to your viewers, thank you for listening to me. And go and subscribe to Dev's channel.